allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Ruth, if we could call the roll to establish our quorum, please.
At this time, I am only asking those board members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a board representative. Millery Senate. Nancy Yarnell.
Here.
Win Dang. Marilisa Amador. Angela Choice.
Here.
Robert Goodman. James Green.
Here.
Bastia Moore. Robin Manuel. Marlene Raman.
Ramnon here. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Schultz is excused. Elizabeth Clark.
Here.
Isis Williams.
Here.
Michael Corbett.
Here.
Lou Ferry. Takesha Saffold.
Present.
Chelsea Reed.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Additionally, we have the following board members requesting to participate remotely due to extenuating circumstances. Takesha Saffold, please state why you are attending virtually.
I'm working from home today and I'm not able to attend face to face.
Thank you. Bastia Moro, please state why you are attending virtually.
Good afternoon. I'm recovering from a virus and I may still be contagious, so for the safety of others.
Win Dang, please state why you are attending virtually.
I was on I-95, but found out that my tire needs to be taken care of, so I'm unable to attend in person due to car issues today.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Ruth?
much, Ruth. Board members that are here with us, do we have any objections to allowing these individuals to enjoy this meeting remotely? All right, seeing none, we are going to go ahead and approve that these members can participate remotely. Ruth, please note their attendance in the minutes, and also Mallory Snot has arrived as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
as a point of order, Jerome Hill, I'm representing the Agency for Healthcare Administration in regards to Mary Lisa Amador.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
you're the alternate.
Yes,
All right, thank you for being here.
thank you.
All right, let's move on to the agenda. So are there any modifications to our agenda today?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, so let's set it up for our minutes next. Are there any changes to our minutes so we can go ahead and move those to be approved?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, lovely. Could I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes for November 15th, 2023?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to move.
Okay, sir, that's my first and my second.
A second.
All right, lovely. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. We're going to move on to general public comments. Instructions on how to provide public comments are included in our agenda. Staff, do we have any public comments today?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, super. So we'll move right along and we're going to start with our LCB liaison report. So we have Brian Rusher, our TPA Deputy Director Multimodal, to review the report. Hi, Brian.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, local coordinating board. I hope everyone is doing well today. Thank you for the opportunity to present the liaison report. I promise to be brief. Wanted to first take the opportunity to thank Isis Williams for really agreeing to serve on the local coordinating board. Would you like to take just a brief moment to introduce yourself? Oh, one more time. It was on. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep, you're
Okay.
hot.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Isis Williams. I'm with the Department of Children and Families. I'm the new Community Development Administrator. So I'm the one that bridges the gap between the community and the department and make that network. So I'm glad to be on board with you guys. Looking forward.
Thank you. And I just want to also note that we do have a few members of FDOT staff that will be appointed to the local coordinating board at the next governing board meeting. So to dive in, the Innovative Service Development Grant is the grant that is available to community transportation coordinators exclusively. However, the program does allow for partnerships with the CTC. So if any of your agencies have ideas that you would like to approach the CTC about with respect to providing transportation services, I'd encourage you to please reach out to Palm Tran Connection staff. That is an eligible grant activity. There is a substantial approval process that goes through for grants whenever we try to pursue them locally with transit. So you have to make sure that you're coordinating early and often with your CDC if you're going to go through that. Palm Tran has also issued a challenge to the public, which we're very excited about. From the months of March to May, we're going to be hosting the Get on the Bus Challenge, where we're going to be encouraging people to take transit to work. I'm very excited that our chair and Mayor Chelsea Reed from Palm Beach Gardens is what is referred to as a transit champion, and she'll be hosting events, riding transit throughout these few months and encouraging people to get on the bus with her. Palm Beach TPA staff are also going to have days where we're going to encourage our staff to take transit to work, document their experiences, and provide input and feedback to Palm Tran about improving the service or telling us about how wonderful the service already is. So we encourage all of your agencies to get involved with this. The contact information for the Get on the Bus Challenge is available on your printed LCB liaison report. Reach out to Evan Henderson for more information. We have a number of very prominent transit conferences that are also coming to West Palm Beach. Community Transportation Association of America is a major conference that's held nationally throughout the country. So that'll be coming to June. The TPA worked with Palm Tran to make sure that the CTAA knew about all the great transit services and all the great socioeconomic background that Palm Beach County has to offer. So we helped to bring that conference locally to West Palm Beach. And then additionally, the Florida Public Transit Association and Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged are also hosting a conference jointly in West Palm Beach in September. So again, please refer to your printed LCB reports for more details on those conferences, or reach out to me if you have any questions about how to get involved with them. The TPA Governing Board will be hosting its next meeting on March 21st at 9 a.m. And as always, if you have any desires or needs to set up a one-on-one meeting with me or liaison to go over any agenda items or any ideas related to transportation disadvantaged services or providing different services to your members and the general public, I'd encourage you to please schedule a calendar invite. And with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to turn it back over to you.
Thank you. I was just plugging all those into my calendar. Thank you. And then, yes, you guys will all have to ride the bus with me from.
He's going to hold you to it too.
No, absolutely. And there will be a party involved. I'll make it fun, I promise.
From
But
March to May.
we're going to be getting on that bus together, and we'll be getting on the bus again soon, which we'll hear about shortly, I'm sure. All right. So we don't have any action items on our agenda. Did we have any comments about Brian's report? Anybody? All right. We'll move right along. So we're going to move on to something I was looking forward to here, which is our information item, which is our fiscal year 24 community transportation coordinator evaluation. So Brian, I think you're.
Madam Chair, were there any member comments or chair comments by chance?
No, I asked the
Okay.
folks, you guys didn't have anything, right?
No chair comments. Just want to make sure.
Hey, no, thank you.
Sorry, can you please use your microphone?
Press the button. Turned it off, sorry. There's a possibility for the CTAA conference that I could possibly get the registration for free for us. So if anybody's interested in going, the sooner you can let me know, I can try, because they'll give me a code if I can tell them how many people, because we're considered the host agency. So even if you want to go just for the expo to check out the buses and check out the cool things they have, that's also, you could do that. Or if you want to sit in on any of the sessions too. So check out the agenda. If anyone wants to go, you can go through Brian, go through me. I'll try and see if we can get I think it's like a $650 registration, so we can get that waived.
Right.
All right. Cool.
So
When is it conference? It's in June.
Sure.
Yep. June 9th to the 12th, right over at the convention center. Yep.
Yep, 9th through 12th. And I would encourage you to at least check out the expo. So you can see the latest and greatest in bus and public transportation technology at these expos. You know, you'll see everything from articulated bus rapid transit all the way down to micro transit, autonomous shuttles. So it's really quite different from the discussions that you see in the general public transportation realm that we've had for the past few centuries. It's really the cutting edge of what's coming for the future. Thank you. Good point, Luke.
Okay, great. And by then we'll all be transit champions. We can just take the bus over there. And-
Absolutely.
Me. All right, so thank you for that. Any other comments at all? Okay, I don't have any comments from the chair, so let's go ahead on to Brian presenting again for the fiscal year 24 Community Transportation Coordinator Evaluation.
Decided
Yes,
to
sir.
change things up and stand for this one.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Rusher, Deputy Director of Multimodal, here to review with you the kickoff for the Community Transportation Coordinator Evaluation for this fiscal year. So as you all know, the local coordinating board is responsible for a number of different planning activities. One of which is the evaluation of the CTC, the Community Transportation Coordinator. We involve our local coordinating board heavily. This is a process that not a lot of agencies involve their board with, but we look to you all to help us through this process, and we encourage you all to become a part of it. You'll see some of our metrics from last year, which we want to get more input from you all. We're going to be involving more of our TPA staff. So we'll just go ahead and dive into what this is, what it looks like. So a long time ago in this city not so far away in the state of Florida, the CTC evaluation workbook was created, which generates our process for how we will go about an evaluation of our CTC. Basically, it lays out a few different things that we have to do as an agency, as your designated official planning agency. First and foremost, we have to work very closely with our community transportation coordinator to look at their metrics, their operations, and their performance. We try to get a better handle and understanding of what they're doing as a community's transportation provider, who they're contracting with, what their processes look like for doing so. And we work closely with them to evaluate that specific niche aspect of it. But we also go out and we also engage the riders. And this is where the importance of you all coming in is. We need help engaging the rider base that we have that uses the Palm Tran Connection service. We do this in a few different ways. Primarily through one survey that's very simple. It's less than 10 questions that we engage them about their satisfaction with the service, how direct their performance was, it was like booking, and then how we can improve on the service. So we ask a very limited number of questions directly to the ridership base, and I'll get into the types, but mainly about throughout the month, the period of a month from March to April 15th. And then we conclude our evaluation and present our findings and recommendations to you all in May. So to dive into what that evaluation looks like for you all, if I can get this clicker to advance. There we go. Oop, too far. Okay, so there's three main tasks. As I had mentioned before, there's a very detailed, arduous workbook. It's about 90 pages long that Palm Tran Connections and the TPA get to fill out in full. But you all get to have a lot more fun. You all get to have a lot more community engagement as our local coordinating board. We ask you to do two things. One, to engage Palm Tran riders by providing them with surveys via either the phone or directly through your observational rides that we expect you all to participate in between March 15th and about April 16th. The survey is very simple. It is a one-page form. It's the same survey that we will ask you to use when you receive a list of members, where you will call the people who have recently ridden Palm Tran Connections and ask them about their experience. Now, I know that we have a form and we have a standard methodology. We're trying to get better about asking kind of the detailed questions that really are going to help Palm Tran Connections improve its service, help us improve our transportation disadvantage service plan, but feel free to take a little bit extra notes, a little bit of time, do inquisitive questions with the ridership base as you see fit. The TPA will also email out that survey to the riders as well that have ridden this past fiscal year. But the last one, I have to say, the most exciting thing that we get a lot of participation in is the observation ride. So we ask each and every one of you to ride one of the cutaway buses, one of the buses that is the shorter Palm Tran Connections bus. We ask you to coordinate with Palm Tran Connections, their staff, figure out where you need to go one day, let them know in advance. Usually it takes about a week or so to make sure that we're not interrupting their service, one, but then two, so that you can actually see how the driver interacts with the other riders, how they're maybe assisting with ambulatory riders, and how the service is being performed when you go out and ride. So that's the most, I would say, that's valuable. Getting out, seeing where the riders are going, seeing how the ridership is engaging with the system, because you can give a survey, but realistically the observational rides is where I think the most value comes back to us because you can see multiple different types of vehicles. You can see multiple different types of users. That's where I think that if I had to strongly encourage, and if you could do one thing for us, do an observational ride. So to look at how we've performed over the past few years, we have targets. We established targets as a metropolitan planning organization. We love our performance measures. So in 2023, we set a target of 6 observational rides. We did 9. So we felt like we should really hammer home on the observational rides and shoot for 15 this fiscal year. We did not perform as many calls or as many emails, but that is a little bit subjective as the ridership base goes up and down. Our numbers of people that we can engage with also fluctuate. So rather than having, and we're thinking about changing this metric this year, that's why you see those asterisks, it would probably be better suited for this agency to start thinking about engagement percentages rather than a raw number. And that's where we are thinking about shifting towards. I'm seeing a lot of head nods, and I think that is some good direction, but I'd hope you all please provide that discussion so that we get a little bit more direction from you all in this informational item. So what's new? We are going to make some changes that we've been working with on the survey form. So if you saw and you were engaged in this process, actually, let me get a straw poll from the group. Who all has participated in the CTC evaluation before? So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pretty good amount. So we have a good amount of participation. So you will have a new form this year. It will be a much simpler form to fill out. It's going to be a fillable PDF that you can just save a clean copy of and then refill out. In addition to having an online survey that you can fill out if you would rather do that while you are going through and engaging with the rider base, you'll have multiple options for getting that data back to us. That's going to be streamlined. We are also going through and going to be picking a date very soon where we are going to be tabling at the Palm Trans Connections building. So one of the things that we notice is that we don't have a lot of face-to-face interaction with people who are going and buying the tickets from the point of sale site at Palm Trans Connections. So we're going to actually go on a busier day. We're thinking that a Monday morning is probably the better time. And we're going to table and try to engage people at Palm Trans Connections on the busiest days that they actually sell tickets. So hopefully we'll get a lot of engagement, not just from the paratransit users, but also the fixed route users who are buying disadvantaged monthly passes that are riding the fixed route system, because we might not necessarily know how many people. I think we'll know this data with new technologies at Palm Tran, but we don't have that level of engagement with them because they're not riding the paratransit service. So how well is our fixed route service working for the paratransit users that are dependent on routes 1, 3, 42, and so on and so forth. We're also going to try to limit the evaluation period to just be 1 month to consolidate it down, because that gives us a clear amount of time that we're engaging with the public. It gives us a little bit more flexibility in how we can post-process the data and complete the survey and forms and get the data and information back from you all. No problem. So the next steps, we should have the survey available for public consumption in the next few weeks. Again, I want to launch the engagement side of this and have observational rides started to be scheduled no later than March 15th. That was when I think that we'll have our public information review the survey, have it input into our standardized format. Making sure it's ADA accessible is important. We have to make sure that we do all of these things. It would be really disingenuous to our user base if we didn't do that. We have to make sure that we are going through the appropriate processes for sending the information to the LCB users. We are receiving their emails and names that we're trying to make sure that we have a system in place to protect that information and the data. But realistically, once we get all that squared away in the next week or two, you all will start conducting phone surveys, conducting evaluation rides, and then we will keep you updated on the opportunity to table with us. If you would like to come out and participate with us, maybe it's a good opportunity for you to ride Palm Tran to or from the Palm Tran Connections headquarters, part of either the Get on the Bus Challenge or the observational rides. Lastly, as I said before, our findings and recommendations will be made to the local coordinating board for adoption at the regular meeting on May 29th at this venue. That is also the day where I'm excited that we will hopefully have some exciting presentations from other partners in the state at our workshop, our annual transportation disadvantaged workshop that we'll host. So with that, are there any questions? I know Lou is also first usually out of the gate on these things.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't want to yield the floor, but with that,
Thank
I'd
you.
like to ask if there are any
So no,
questions.
this, to remind everybody that hasn't been here, this is one of the reasons why you guys are the award-winning LCB of the year from last year, because you guys are so involved and
Absolutely.
it's really awesome. So just a couple notes so we can have an open dialogue about when you take these observation trips. So the idea is to actually get you on a vehicle that someone else is riding with, so you can observe a trip. So if you do it as a rider would, we have to kind of plan it, obviously, but we'll plan it for you. But remember, you're essentially reserving a trip on a plane. You're reserving a trip on the bus. So if you can, if you can really do it, it'd be great to keep that trip. Because then if you no show, if we have to cancel, then we just have to figure it out again. But the idea is we could pick you up from your house and take you to work if you wanted to. And then pick you up and take you home that day. I mean, it's as easy as that, or pick you up from work and take you to lunch and then pick you up in an hour or whatever, wherever you want to go. So think about what you want to do, but it's also something where we wanted you to use the technology, meaning when the trip is coming, we want you to check and see, you know, where's the bus? Well, we have an app, you could check where the bus is. So you kind of get an interaction of what the riders would see. And that's really cool. The one thing I think we tend to not tell you is it might not be your name though. That's the only problem. So we have test users. So, I mean, it used to be Yosemite Sam and Mickey Mouse and all that, but it's not that anymore. But so there's just generic names, because anyone that's in our database has to go through an eligibility process. We get it audited just like everybody else. We just have to make sure we have, you know, this is a test client. So, you know, you might be Sam Smith instead of, you know, James Green. And just, you know what I mean? It's just something like that. So that's one thing to think of. So if somebody's looking for you and you're at a restaurant, call them a different name. But we'll coordinate it. It'll be great. But the idea also is, you know, pick you up, and then either someone's on the bus already, or we're gonna go pick up somebody that's close by, so you could observe that ride, and maybe we drop you off or drop them off, you know. And again, the thought process is every destination in Palm Beach County is a destination that we could possibly go to as Pontchartrain Connection, so we'll go anywhere. So think about that, and, you know, just kind of get in your idea in your head as to what you want to do. I think that's cool. So.
Who do we call to coordinate?
You can, I think what we're gonna do is, usually you can email Brian and me. And or if you email Brian and and then we'll just make sure we reach out to you to kind of put that trip together.
Oh, so so last year we were all connected as a board via email as to how it's made very, very easy for you. You pretty much are well taken care of by Lou and by the TPA. We just pretty much show up and you get to be, you know, John Doe on the bus for as long as you're free, right? So if you have an hour, or if you could spend a whole day, you do whatever you want to do, and it will open your eyes to what the experience is really like for our residents, and that's the goal. But I have a couple of cards up. Brian, is it okay if I take some questions?
I don't think we have anyone.
The only other thing is,
I
we
do
could
have any-
also pick you up.
Yeah. Go
We
ahead.
can also pick you up. You can see, observe, and then we'll just take you back to work or take you right. I mean, it doesn't have to be a pickup, drop off, then pick up again. I mean, we can be very flexible. It's just the thought process is just for you to get to see. You want to ride along in a wheelchair, we put a wheelchair on there. You pick it on if you wanted to, we could do anything you want. If you really want to get a feeling for it, we could figure it out. So just throwing it out there.
So I think I wanted to ask, what's kind of the three top destinations that you have for connections that
well-
might be of interest to people to go to?
The VA, a lot of people are going to and from the VA. There's the Palm Beach Hab Center on Lake Worth. Now I guess it's the ARC. That's at Lake Worth and Congress, or right there, close by. The Ernie Els Autistic School up in Jupiter. And pretty much every meal site that we have in Palm Beach County is a popular destination as well, especially the one in Lake Worth. The Mid-County Senior Center is one of the most, I think that might be Takesha. Yep. But we can make anything work, so.
Okay, I think we're gonna have a lot more questions and comments, but before we do, if we could ask anyone who's remote to mute themselves. I've heard a couple sniffles. And then do we have any public comments or questions?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the folks that are here in the room with me, if you would be so kind, as you can see, Elizabeth has her card up, put your card up, and I'll keep an eye out and call on you as we go through. Elizabeth.
Thank you. Yeah, so Lou, thank you for bringing up the name thing. I remember they called, and it was super easy to coordinate with everyone on the observation. But yeah, I recall being called Jane Doe and I was like, I guess that's my name, sure. You know, going through it. So my question is, the Paradise Pass, is that incorporated with Connection or is it separate? Because I remember I think I had some cash on hand and I was not prepared. So I just want to make sure that if I had a Paradise Pass loaded, would that suffice or just have cash?
So the Paradise Pass is only for the fixed route bus.
Okay, that's it.
But
So-
we have a new system that we just put in place called Easy Wallet,
Okay,
where the fare will already be paid for with
okay.
your Easy Wallet account, so to speak. So you don't have to worry about that. Or we can give you some tickets to ride and you can, and you know, just that experience that as well with the
Okay.
tickets to ride.
Just to make sure I'm prepared.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Isis, you have a question?
Yeah.
I can see you're going for it.
Oh,
It's actually, if it's red, it's on. Nope, one more time.
More.
sorry.
We all do it. Don't worry
My
about it.
question is, for example, if within my gated community, there's a palm tram that already come in, if I could coordinate to be picked up, if that's possible, would that be? okay.
Yeah, I would just, yeah, as long as we could talk it out to figure out where you live and we can try and figure out what buses are coming in and out. Yeah, that works.
All right, any other questions? Let's talk about this engagement percentage idea. So do you want to tell us the merit of going that way a little bit
Sure,
more?
certainly. So as we receive users that we have communicate with, we generally try to take the rider base that we have over the past year rather than the whole slew, because ultimately what we're trying to do is evaluate the rides that have happened within the past year. We're not evaluating 2 years ago. We're trying to engage with the current user base. And so as that number fluctuates, our goals could be met. or not met. A better approach in staff's mind might be to start looking at the percentage engagement. And I think we've hit about 20% of users on the system being engaged in the past. So that might be something that we're thinking about starting with as our baseline. And as we continue to engage and refine our public input processes over the next year, those numbers would bump up. Generally, we try to increase our metrics by 20% year over year. So that would be what I think is worthwhile in going towards, because as you saw last year, we had about 550 riders that we tried to engage with. And we emailed them 3 times, but we can only get so much engagement. So long as we're able to track our riders, or as long as we're able to track the response that we're getting from them and their unique responses, which we do have the capability to do, we can shift towards a completion rate rather than a standard numeric goal, which may or may not be met based off of the fluctuating needs or policy decisions, which could impact how wide of a service that we're being provided, or if they're using Lyft or UServe, are we connecting with those riders as well. So as things change, we'll need to be able to adjust how we engage and make sure that we're engaging with the right population. So that's the thinking behind it.
Is Go Glades included with Palm Tran Connection? Or I know that not only the disadvantaged can utilize it, but is it included with Palm Tran Connection and with what we're overseeing here? And is it included in the data that you're reporting on?
So Go Glades is a separate mobility on demand service.
Yeah.
So we pretty much, Palm Tran has 3 different modes: fixed route big bus, then the mobility on demand, Go Glades, and then paratransit.
Okay.
So it's not under the TD program.
They're all interconnected, but they're not connected.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So let's talk about it as a board. So the engagement percentage is, you know, for myself, for my subjective experience with the phone calls last year, what I found, I think that going to an engagement percentage is a great idea because, you know, for me, I'm kind of busy these days. And so sometimes I would call someone, leave a message, and then they'd miss my call. They'd call me back in the middle of a board meeting or whatever. I wouldn't call back. So it would go back and forth. And generally speaking, the engagement was excellent. I learned so much more about the service. I do think switching to a percentage is kind of industry standard these days anyway. It makes a lot more sense. So does anyone have any issue with pursuing it instead of the actual number to go? Okay, Elizabeth, do you have something you want to say? Yeah,
Not, it's on the same,
sure. No,
Train- train of-
anything you want.
thought it was about the preferred language. That was also, if I'm recalling back to making the phone calls,
Mhm.
sometimes it was a little tricky. So if there's a possibility to maybe find out the preferred language for some of the, clients that were calling, that might be helpful. Because I felt like I wasn't able to always, successfully complete some of those, say if they were speaking Spanish or something. So just enable to really, get a good representation.
And
Anyway,
no, I
not
think-
the same vein.
No, I actually think that you're onto something. So we're all, it sounds like we're all good with I'm seeing nodding heads as well about switching to percentages for that. Would there be the possibility, and I don't want to ever give anyone more work. So I think Elizabeth is bringing up a lot of points that is bringing me back to last year when I rode and made the phone calls that, let's make sure that our board, whether we do it verbally at the follow-up meeting or otherwise, sort of gets a list of this worked really well for me to analyze this, and this worked badly for me to analyze that, right? So we'll come back ourselves. I think I'm going to put that on our board, that we need to do a good job of, I don't want to be Jane Doe. I would like to be Jane Smith, because maybe that's not the best last name and it kind of is a ringer, or, things like of that nature, or the language. I think these are all great points that I hadn't thought about recently, because we did this, almost a year ago. And so if we could talk to staff about that possibility again, without giving you guys more work, I'll put it on us. Maybe we just, make sure we either list it subjectively for our following meeting, or if there's a form or any easy access where we can provide that at the end of our calls, or I don't know, however you guys can do it without it being more work would be great, so that we can help each year's board do a better job to make sure we're giving you what you need.
Right, and I think that we'll talk with Lou about how we can do some of those things, and then also seeing if we can get the survey into an easy translation service for our survey platform. Some of them, the auto translations aren't exactly great, but for the most part, we try to do our surveys in a multi-language platform so that you can translate easily between different, like Spanish and Creole, for example, is the two we hear about most frequently.
Thank you, Brian. Isis?
Yes, for the surveys, are we only engaging? Are we also, surveys, for example, when you go to the doctor's office and then you get that yes or no, how was your service today? Rate from 1 to 10, and then you hit 1 and then it populate, not a question. Have we explored that?
Like conditional questioning?
Yes.
Yes, we have a few that are loaded. We're not going too crazy on it because we do want to keep it very simple for people. We find that if it's too long of a survey, we're going to miss the opportunity to do it. And we're also trying to balance the ability to kind of do it on the fly. Like if you're on an observational ride, for example, you complete the observational ride form just to kind of observe the service. Well, if there's a rider there, I'm not sure if it's we've done this in the past, but it might be good to start surveying those people on the bus and just saying like, hey, do you have time for 10 quick questions to get through? So we do have some conditional questions that are in the online form that are also reflected in the paper form too.
All right, Marlene?
Yes, I just wanted to support what Elizabeth said, because when I did the calls, sometimes, you don't want to be stereotyped. You don't want to create implicit bias. I did that training yesterday. And so you hear the accent and, you're thinking the person speaks Spanish or another language, and then you ask. So if we know for sure, because some persons, they do speak English, but because their accent, and so we tend to think, okay, we can communicate with the person because she may not know English or he may not know English. So it's very good if we know they speak English or whatever, and so we can move on easily and not, create any type of anxiety with these clients, because we are the ones asking the question. They don't have to answer us.
Right. And you do receive a script. So I'll try to include some of that information about getting away from the implicit bias of either being able to communicate with someone in a language or other abilities that someone might have.
So we do have some of that information captured. However, on our application, we're not allowed to mandate you say that. So in our eligibility application, they have to be willing to say their preferred language. So we could try and run the report with that, and I'll keep that in mind. But some people it may or may not hit because it's something we can't, according to,
Cannot discriminate
yeah,
on
yeah, we just
language.
can't say you have to let us know. So, but yeah, we'll do that. I think I put that note down. I don't think that'll be a problem. Yeah, and then just throwing this out there, if anyone on the board speaks a different language, maybe you can let us know as well. And then, if we do have a report that reflects many Spanish speakers, maybe we can kind of have certain board members make those phone calls as well.
All right, so if you are a board member that is lucky enough to have more than one language, please maybe email Brian and then you can silo everything to Lou directly. Would
Please,
that be
yeah.
okay?
That'd be very helpful.
No, no, everyone's like shaking their head, yes or no. It's funny. Okay, great. So I think the idea of a table at Palm Tran Connect is wonderful because then we can actually visually and verbally hopefully interact with people when we're doing the survey because, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly don't pick up phone numbers I don't know, right? So that will also help us break that barrier to be able to actually have that sort of connection. And I have a question that I didn't talk to you about yet, so I'm going to say it out loud and apologize ahead. For me, when I came on to this board and became chair, one of the most important things I got to do, was lucky enough to do, aside from ride the bus and talk to all these folks on the phone, was actually to tour your office. So I know, I know. So if it's possible, I'd like to ask Lou if there's the opportunity for this board, and I know it's short notice because I would love for us to try to do it before the March 15th calls. There's nothing like seeing it behind the scenes and what's actually happened when that call comes in, what they're working on, how they get it done, before you actually go into asking what the experience is like. You guys are gonna, that way you're fully immersed in understanding the entire process. So
Yes.
how about that opportunity?
I think yes, and I'll one up you and I'll say, if you want to do some phone calls that'll say Palm Beach County on it, I'll even give you a phone and an area to sit down and make some phone calls.
I think we're in. Yeah.
Look at that.
All right. So
That's
again,
easy.
Brian, I'm sorry, that's more work, but can you help us organize that?
Good.
Okay, I think it'll really change the outcome of engagement and we'll get another award. So.
The best thing I think to do to let Lou and I get some dates put together that work well for the staff. You know, we do have to be sensitive to the timing, the nature of when these things happen, but we will do that as part of this evaluation as well.
But I mean, we're really open for anything. So I mean, as much as you want to, if anybody has time to come over, we'll make time for you. So don't worry about that. The other thing I was going to say about the table is we could do the intermodal, but I figured it would be too hot and you don't want to be outside because you'll get more people. But then again, you know, it is
Right.
getting a little warmer out there. That's why I figured the Palm Train Connection office, we get about 100, at least 100, 150 people a day coming through there to buy discounted bus passes. So at least you have, you know, the audience there.
Mhm. Certainly.
But
Well, yeah. Okay.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question, if you guys can think about, I would be interested in some ride-alongs for dialysis center. And so I don't know if that's possible, if you can think through that. I would love to have the experience of those going to dialysis center if possible. Thank you.
yes, if there's a
Great
certain
suggestion.
trip purpose you want, sure. If you want to see some of the meal site, pickups, you want to see some of the, meal sites or Alzheimer's and all that. Yeah, I mean, we can be specific. It just, the only inconvenience it could be is it might be on their time, not your time. So you might have to make some time for that trip. But definitely, that sounds good. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else, Lou? Okay, all right, so with that said, we have our marching orders. So in between now and our next meeting, we will get to experience writing as writers. We will also have the opportunity to actually connect with our writers as well, and hopefully for all of us to be able to actually tour the facility. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just wanted to take a moment, if Margie could please stand. She's going to be doing a lot of the work with me on this exercise. So Margie Tamlin is our planner one. She joined us in October. We're really excited to have her and have her kind of expanding her role in helping to take this on. So if you see Margie, this is your point of contact as well, in addition to me.
Thanks, Margie.
Thank you.
All right, great. All right, we're good. All right, we'll move on. This will be a short meeting then. So what we started doing a little over a year ago was with this board, all of these different folks that are involved offer so much to our community that it was kind of hard just to walk into the door and walk out not really understanding the depth of why we're all here. So we have a lot of volunteers over the year that have come in, and one or two people will present about why they're here and what they do, what their community interaction is with Palm Tran and otherwise. And so today we have, hopefully James and Vasti are ready. Okay. And so Isis, you're new, so that means you get to go next time. Okay. All right, who wants to go first? James, your microphone's on. You may as well.
All right, we'll make it happen. I'm gonna actually stand up.
Feel free to use the podium. Yep.
Please use your microphone.
Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is just share some information about the Community Services Department. And as I go through the presentation, I will kind of share how we intersect with Palm Tran Connection, and also share some thoughts about things that we might be able to do to enhance our collaboration. This is my team, my executive team and my leadership team at Community Services. I am the director, and we have about 250, 300 employees throughout the department. We are one of 20 departments with county government. We work with all 39 municipalities, and we have our administrative the administration. Then we have really 3 divisions: Human Services and Community Action, Senior Services and Veteran Services, and then HIV Services. And all of these different programs that are listed under here interface with Palm Tran Connection in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I'll try to go through that here momentarily. Our department also we have 6 advisory boards, probably more than any other department within the county. Everything from behavioral health and substance use disorder, which is a relatively new board that works with individuals with mental health and substance use disorders. The Citizens Advisory Committee, which we'll talk a little bit more about here today. Dr. Remnon is actually the chair of the CAC, and it is a body that's made up of institutional leaders across all of Health and Human Services with a keen focus on vulnerable populations, including those who are disadvantaged. Then we have Community Action, HIV Care Council, the Homeless Advisory Board, and the newest board, which is our Veteran Services Advisory Board. When we talk about health and human services, we're really looking through the lens of these domains: housing and homelessness, employment, transportation, food and hunger, health and wellness, education, safety and justice, and childcare. And so the role of the Citizens Advisory Committee is to make sure that our vulnerable populations, and that is defined in what we refer to as our health and human services element of the county's comprehensive plan. The CAC oversees that plan and works with all of these institutional leaders. You probably can't see them under the various domains, but their departments, or they're like United Way or the health department. These are organizations who have comprehensive plans working with all municipalities and incorporated areas throughout the county to address things like health and wellness, things like food and hunger throughout Palm Beach County. And the comp plan, we are one of 67 counties throughout the state of Florida that has a health and human services element. It really reflects how we work, how the county works with all of its funders and other governmental entities and partners to ensure that we're coordinating effectively, to make sure that we are assessing the needs in each of these domains, and to make sure that we're strategically allocating resources to fill gaps. And so it's our way of coordinating in a very efficient and effective way, and making sure that the limited resources that we do have go to those who need it the most. And those who are with special needs and have other disadvantages are at the heart of the work that we do. And so this slide shows what the Board of County Commissioners, what their strategic priorities are. And it shows what Community Services Department does that's aligned with their strategic priorities. So economic development, we do quite a bit with workforce development, job trainings, things of that nature. And we certainly work closely with CareerSource and others to make sure that those who are disadvantaged, that they have transportation to get to those trainings and to the employment services that are derived from the trainings. Housing and homelessness, of course, this is a big one. We operate 5 shelters throughout the county. We contract with Goodwill to operate those shelters. And of course, Goodwill is also one of our go-to organizations that work with those who have disabilities or they're disadvantaged in some form or fashion. And so we certainly need the support of our Palm Trend Connection to assist those individuals and those who are unsheltered moving into our shelters and into permanent housing. And then with substance use and behavior disorders, of course, there are severe disadvantages there. And we need to make sure that those individuals can get to treatment and they can get to recovery support services that are offered by our department. And so you'll see the 3 initiatives that our department leads in order to satisfy some of the goals outlined with these various strategies from the board. Securing Our Future is an economic mobility initiative that really helps lift families out of poverty. Leading the Way Home is our comprehensive plan to end homelessness. And Facing the Crisis is how we frame our work with opioids and other substances. And we're a funder. We fund about 125 different nonprofits and programs, but we also provide direct services as well. And you can find more information about each of these comprehensive plans on the sites listed below, securingourfuturepvc.org, thehomelessplan.org. And so if you're interested in housing and homelessness, all of the information that you need is likely on that site, and then facingthecrisis.org. So Lou mentioned the senior centers and the meal sites. We have, I think, about 17 or 18 different meal sites and senior centers throughout the county, with 3 major senior centers, which are meal sites, and then an additional 14 meal sites in various communities. And many of our seniors are catching Palm Trend Connection to get to these senior centers and meal sites. We also partner with Alzheimer's Community Care, and so they operate from one of our senior centers to help those with early onset of Alzheimer's. And then these are some of the other services offered by our Senior and Veteran Services Division. Veteran Services really focuses primarily on making sure that those veterans who have claims that they can get those claims processed and get the supports that they deserve, really. And so we work very closely with the VA on that. And so I think there's probably more that can be done to make sure that our veterans are taking advantage of this. One of the last conversations that I had with Clinton was about how we can really do something special with our veterans. And I think maybe in Broward or Miami-Dade, I know they passed some type of transportation referendum, but I think they have some services that are offered to veterans, and we wanted to replicate that here as well. Lou, did you have something?
Yeah, Miami, they have the Freedom Pass, they call
The
it.
Freedom Pass, that's
Yeah,
exactly
and
right.
we were trying to figure out how to do that here in Palm Beach County as
Yeah.
well. So that'd be great to start that conversation and come up again.
We absolutely love that idea and would support it wholeheartedly. These are just some of the senior centers and the meal sites that I mentioned. We've added a couple of meal sites since then. With our behavioral health and HIV support services, obviously these individuals are, at a disadvantage and can certainly benefit from these services. I think we have been partnering with the managing entity, Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network, to pilot a transportation program for those who are struggling with substance use disorders and mental health disorders, almost like a mobility on demand type of service. I have to get back with you on how that's going, but I think there's an opportunity here as well to make sure that those who are in recovery or those who are living with HIV, that they can get to their treatment, they can get to their doctors when they need to, especially if there are issues with transportation. And so that's another area that I think we can probably sit down and connect on and see how we can enhance the supports that are already being provided. And then, of course, homelessness. We do everything from prevention, helping with things like rental assistance with their electric bill, the water bills. So we do that. We help those individuals who are being evicted to stay in their homes, and we focus a lot on the unsheltered individuals, making sure that they get into shelter and into permanent housing as well. And all of these individuals are in need of services, transportation services to continue to stabilize. And I think there are many opportunities to enhance our coordination with those who are not just receiving rental assistance, which I think we helped over 20,000 households in Palm Beach County stay in their homes since COVID, almost $150, $200 million that we pushed out to the community, but also those who are on the streets or those who are in our shelters moving into permanent housing settings. And this just takes a look at the Lewis Center, which is one of our shelters, 66 beds. Melissa's Place out in the Glades, it's a 42-bed facility. We also have a 6-bed intake facility in Belglade, and then the 42-bed is in Pahokee. And a couple of weeks ago, we had the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Housing Resource Center 2. That is right next to our senior center. And so there may be some opportunities to get more services to the Housing Resource Center 2 through Palm Tran Connection as well. Later this year, we'll be doing a ribbon cutting on our cottage home facility, which is about 17 single-family homes. It's located right there off of Lake Worth Road, the old DMV. And so our homeless families will be able to go into these transitional housing settings for up to 2 years while we help stabilize them and move them into permanent housing. And there certainly may be some opportunities to connect with Palm Tran Connection there as well. And then what you won't see here is the shelter program REACH, which is about 19 units operated by Adopt a Family. All of the other shelters are operated by Goodwill. The one for families operated by Adopt a Family. This is just some data about us assisting those through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. We were very fortunate to get those dollars out quickly and more efficiently than other communities throughout the state. And as a result, we were the recipients of 3 rounds of emergency rental assistance dollars that other communities couldn't spend. They gave us $12 million the first round, an additional $6 million the second round, and then additional $2.3 million the third time. But all of that money just about is gone. And so we are looking to go to the board to talk about the need for more assistance there. And this is just a slide to show you where many of our satellite offices are, including the senior centers. We also work from a number of libraries to expand access to some of the supports that we offer. And for those of you or others who may be interested in accessing our services, you can reach our hotline at 833-CSD-WILL for Community Services Department WILL for prevention-related services, anything outside of homelessness. And for homeless services, it's 833-HHA-WILL, which is for Homeless and Housing Alliance, WILL. You can access our homeless outreach team and many of the services we offer through that number. And I'll pause here for any questions you may have.
Excellent. Any questions? Any cards up? Any of our virtual friends have a question?
No, Madam Chair.
We're really fortunate. Thank you. That's a really great update. Jerome.
It's more so a statement. How can we get this presentation?
Brian has it, so he
Brian
can
has
send
it?
to you.
Okay.
We'll post this online, but I'll let the
Was it?
the
Okay.
board know when all of the links are up. so that you'll be able to direct right to the LCP site.
Yeah.
If not, I can, if you follow up with me, I'll email it directly to you.
Okay.
Might be a little faster.
I like some of the things that you got going on there, and certainly Miami can take a look at that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And yes, please.
So, Dr. Green, I know you mentioned during the pandemic, you had, funding which I think it's expired, from what I see, May or April of last year.
For what? For the
For
emergency
the
rental
rental
assistance?
assistance, yes.
Yeah, we still have some of those dollars remaining, not a whole lot. We
Okay.
anticipate
Right.
obligating all those funds probably May, June.
Okay.
So,
I just wanted, it's just a comment because I know during the pandemic, people weren't working, they couldn't get out, but now people are working. And so they're working now, but they still can't afford
Mhm.
rent.
Mhm.
So we are still in a pandemic situation, so to say, because people are trying to work very hard. The rent is so expensive now,
Mhm.
especially I live in Wellington, so you can imagine
Yeah.
what the rent is like in Wellington. Thank God I don't rent, but for younger people who are just getting a job, they don't have anywhere to live. Sooner or later, we have a lot of homeless persons because they just can't afford it.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
that's just a comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Do you guys service immigrants also, or it's only citizens and residents?
Yes, we do service those who have documentation, and we work with other community partners to serve those who don't.
And I just have one thing. So,
Please.
just the really cool thing, when you talked about the health and human services element,
Mhm.
that component of Palm Beach County, when you really think about how that ties in the transportation component is, we have all these wonderful services, right? So Palm Beach County throughout the years has invited everyone to come down and retire, of course.
Mhm.
But we've opened these senior centers. We have these wonderful services for those that are mentally disabled. As I mentioned earlier, the school for autism, things like that. But if people can't get there, it really doesn't matter. So that's why, especially this board, when we can advocate for the transportation, for public transportation, for better transportation, it really doesn't matter how many services you open if people can't get there. And
And we're-
sometimes we forget that component.
Yeah, we recognize that as a barrier, and we've done as much as possible to go online, and we're starting to look at artificial intelligence and how we can incorporate that to expand access to services. We have to be very careful as we move into that lane, but you're absolutely right. It's important that individuals have the ability, especially our seniors, to access the supports and services. And with regards to the health and human services element, it's important to note that the work that you're doing with PalmTran Connection that we're doing is spelled out in the element. And so PalmTran was one of the partners that worked with us to make sure that the direction set out in the element looked at the way that we were coordinating with each other and with partners, looking at the availability of funds, looking at how we're holding each other accountable, looking at the quality of services that we're providing, and a number of other things. And so all of that is spelled out in the element. It's really nice if people want to know how all of these institutional leaders are working together to create a safety net and to really operate an efficient health and human services and to make sure that we're strategically allocating resources to fill gaps that have been identified through the needs assessment process. It's all spelled out in the element, which is very unique, not just throughout the state, but throughout the country.
Not Mike. Sorry, wait, don't go. So just so you know, there was a meeting yesterday with the Board of County Commissioners and the Palm Beach County League of Cities. Palm Beach County League of Cities was encouraging the board to consider adopting continuing the half penny infrastructure surtax that will be sunsetting probably around 2025. The commissioners did not have an appetite for that, but what they did have an appetite for is a transportation surtax, possibly to go on the ballot in 2026 or 2028. So that's a thing that I think all of this group should keep an eye on as we go forward, especially if we're considering something like a Freedom Pass for our veterans. I know some of our areas to the south, have free rides for seniors. So this is all going to be at the discretion of our BCC as things go forward, but definitely something that we can maybe add some updates as it goes, make sure we keep the communication going. So, and thank you for what you spoke about, that's extraordinary services. It's so wonderful that you guys all take the time to share what you do. And we're going to recycle everyone again, because as we get new board members on, we all need to know what the other one does. And Lou will explain to you that many, many good things have come out of this sharing of knowledge. Yeah. All right. So next we have Vasti. Are you there? So don't forget, we have folks from all different parts of our community. So Vasti is our private transportation industry representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. As Madam Chair mentioned, I am representing the private operator currently as a consultant. And so what I wanted to do today, just very briefly, keep it light, just bring you a perspective of the different types of operations that are available and why private operators exist. It's not always the transit agency themselves that run the services, but it takes a lot of partnerships within the community, and that's where the private operator comes in. So I'm going to come to you from that perspective today. And just to start off light, I'll go to the next slide, Brian. I thought I would start with just a little fun fact from the beginning. So I've been in the transit industry. Oh, can we go back up a little bit? Yep. I've been in the industry for a little over 30 years. I started my transit career down in Tampa. And for those who are joining us, millennials or younger, that box that you're looking at in front of me is a computer. So I had the privilege of working in the call center. So it's really refreshing to hear that during the surveys that you all are considering actually taking the tour to the operations to see where the call center operations takes place, what it takes, because it really is a huge undertaking what happens behind the scenes. That's how I started my career down in Tampa. And there on the left, an opportunity to attend my first board meeting as a young transit geek. I've been riding transit all of my life, started with my family on the subways of New York. And so we've always been taking transit. Transit is in my blood. My 80-year-old parents still take transit. My mom rides the fixed route and my dad uses it for dialysis. So this is very near and dear to my heart. I've had an opportunity to work around the country, both on the public side as a transit agency, and then on a global perspective with a global firm as an operator, and now as a business owner. So next slide, please. What I'd like to do is just give you just 5 case studies of why a private operator would be a good partner for a transit agency or a government agency. I'll give you 3 examples that I'm working with now in Florida, and then maybe outside of the state, an example down in Arizona, and then another country. Next slide, please. So I'll start with Stream. The reason why I chose this one is because I want you all to have an understanding of the different sizes of locations that actually need a private provider. In this case, we have Henry County, which is LaBelle. It's a rural area. It's between Fort Myers and Palm Beach. Population is just under 40,000, but it's got a huge square mileage area to cover. And at the time, about 3 years ago, believe it or not, this community had no public transit. So when they were approved and had funding for transportation, really it wasn't the county's expertise. And so they outsourced the entire operations to have an expert come in and help them start it up. And so Stream is the name of the transit system in this county. The TD board actually covers about 6 different counties within that region because it's just such a rural area. And I've been asked to serve on that local coordinating board as well. So I get to bring perspectives from both sides, the large operations from Palm Beach, as well as the rural side. And what I like about this example is it's small enough. You're talking about 2 fixed route and an express route, and then the TD program is mostly of the ridership. And what's nice about this example, hearing the last presentation about the importance of connection and access, we've actually put in the operations center inside United Way. And what that allows is twofold. Obviously, the people coming into United Way have many needs, including transportation. And when they're done getting the information about all of the services that they're looking for from the United Way, they instantly get their information regarding transportation, and they can have their eligibility services and all of what they need, their information that they're asking for about transportation is all in a one-stop shop. So that like hub location for sharing space, I would say is a best practice there in this county. Next slide. The next example I'll give you is Polk County, which is in Lakeland between Tampa and Orlando. Population is just under 1,002,000 square miles. And the purpose for a private provider with this service is because of the proximity to the Transit's operations center. This is the very east end of the county, and the purpose is to provide commuter service connection that connects to Sunrail and Lynx. Talk about multimodal. It just makes sense for the transit agency to outsource to a private provider out in this far area. So they're saving on cost of miles and maintenance and fuel, and just have a local operator where we can very easily lease a local warehouse space and have the operators and the mechanics work from this area where it doesn't have a lot of impact on their budget as it relates to miles and fuel. And it's easier for them to just outsource all of their commuter service and TD program to the private provider here. And then the next slide, please. The next example is right here in Palm Beach. A lot of people don't realize that the connector is partnering with private operator. I represent one of the private operators that is currently providing the services here. So when we are surveying and writing the routes, we actually give Lou feedback of how the private operator is providing the services that they've hired them to do. And so in this case, it's obviously you've heard Lou present before that the county has given them an assignment to find some savings, cost savings, and having multiple operators rather than Palmtran running it in-house is a cost-saving model. So in this case, there are multiple private operators running the services, the drivers and the mechanics for Palmtran Connect. Next slide. This is just a quick example I wanted to give you outside of the state. This is Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. And the reason why they outsource is for the expertise. Airports are not in the business of running buses, and so they will outsource their services. And here, not only did they outsource their bus service, but they also, the curb ambassadors, which you see the folks there on the curb, they're actually helping customers, giving them information, helping them to find the bus route that they need. This would be another reason why a private operator would be needed. And this was an opportunity for us to run the entire bus service for Phoenix Sky Harbor. Next slide. The last example I wanted to give you is another country. So this is Medellin, Colombia, El Metro. And the purpose was to get some research to see what other countries are doing in multimodal transportation. And in this example, the train is actually connecting to what they call a Metro Cable, which is a tram that runs across the mountain, which cuts down about 2 hours from the bus ride, the transit bus ride it would take to ride a bus around to get up to that mountain. The Metro Cable actually gets there in about 20 to 30 minutes. And so this was just an example of how to find multimodal best services options by another country. So very quickly, just in the interest of time, I'm just going to wrap it up there and just say there are many reasons why transit and government agencies hire private operators to partner with them. And these are just a few examples as to some of the work that I've been doing, either working for a private operator and then in my consulting role, what I'm doing now with TD in the state of Florida and throughout. So with that, I'll just stop there and be happy to take any questions, or Madam Chair, in the interest of time, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, that was great. I think we're all going to want a Metro Cable. I'm probably not saying that right.
That's
Could I
good.
please have one in Palm Beach Gardens if you're listening? That just looks extremely cool. We do have a question from Wen Dang, our vice chair.
Hi, thank you. A really great presentation. I really enjoy it. And Medellin just has a buffet of different transit amenities. My question is, I know that there's been, recently there's been a rise of a different kind of on-demand operators. And we see it here locally with Circuit and Freebie. Via is another one of those operators. How do I guess your type of services blend or collaborate with those other on-demand services?
Yeah, good question. In fact, we like to blend, as you said, with those other operations. In fact, right now we are looking to bring microtransit to Henry County as an alternative option. It's really key for us to actually have those relationships. So we have reached with all technologies, all microtransit operators, in fact, planning engineers to help with the GIS and the planning component that goes into those special microtransit operations. So when Lou was talking about those conferences that are coming to your to Palm Beach County, that is just a blessing, and kudos to you all for securing not one but two. All of those partners that come to those expos, those are the kind of business people that we partner with to bring these solutions to wherever we operate.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think for other board members, I don't, sometimes we see these on-demand services, but a lot of time they were based as a technology company, and they're not necessarily the operations behind this. So I'm just really excited to see that this it's a collaborative efforts.
Yeah, either the technology company is hiring us to bring in the vehicles, or we're hiring them to partner with them to have the technology solution. So great point.
All right, great question. Anyone else? No? No comments, no other questions? All right, you did a great job
Thank
out
you.
there in Zoom world. I hope you feel better soon. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming through anyway. We really appreciate it.
You bet.
Thanks, Pasti. All right, so as you guys can see, it's just great to continue to share what we all do. We'll keep on doing it. Do we have any partner agency updates today from anyone?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, lovely. So we're going to close it out. We've got the calendar for our activities is attached to the agenda as well. Is it here? Let's see. Nope, but it's on the agenda, so you guys can find that. Don't forget, we have a lot going on. Our next meeting will be May 29th. We have the action item of letting Lou or Brian know if you're going to be attending the conference at the Convention Center from June 9th till 12th. And we're also going to get you're going to be getting a lot of information about doing the rides, doing the interviews, doing the table. I guess Elizabeth and I are going to see how long we can stand out in the heat. And yeah, we're gonna, okay, I guess that's another, oh my gosh. And I thought we were gonna have cake after every meeting, but I guess not, no.
Maybe the next one.
Okay, fair enough. I think we'll deserve it after all the rides next time. We'll have to do that. So nonetheless, this is a wonderful meeting. We've got Isis speaking next time. Is there anyone who presented at the beginning of when we first started presenting that would like to come up again or has any information that's new to share? Okay,
Angela?
so next is Florida Department of Veteran Affairs. We'll have Angela go with Isis at our next meeting, if that's okay. And if you want to come to the meeting after that and present, obviously you have to come
Yep.
to the next meeting, but if anyone wants to present afterwards, just let Brian know.
We'll be cognizant of the presentations and try to be respectful. As a reminder, May is also our workshop. And
Oh,
I've been-
okay, so we
and-
might need to skip a quarter.
And we might need to just be cognizant of how much we do put on the agenda, because I've been asking the CTD if they were willing to come back and maybe do a legislative update as part of our workshop, because
That's
there is some
important.
legislation that is coming forward that might impact our CTCs that they would be willing to provide us an update on. That would be very advantageous for us to hear about, as we want to make sure that we're up to date and up to speed on any of the changes that are coming to the TD program. And it would be good for our partners regionally to come and to hear about that as
That's
an opportunity.
very
So
true. You're totally right.
I'm
So
shooting
we'll-
for that, but
We can accommodate whatever it
Right.
is, or we can even shorten presentations
Right.
to 3 minutes if we have to, or set something up otherwise, but that'd be great. Whatever you say.
if it's good enough meeting, I will provide the cake.
You always do a
Make
great
it
job.
happen.
We appreciate all your
Thank
hard
you.
work, Brian. Absolutely. All right, so I'll see you guys on May 29th, and with that, this meeting is adjourned.
How are you? Good to see you. Yeah. Getting a lot.